Anyways, happy Monday to you guys. My name is Richardson. I am the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners, and my partner here.
Hi, my name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker at Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners. And thank you very much for joining us for another edition of our weekly, The Real Estate Backstory. This is where we kind of go over the comings and goings, everything happening in the real estate world, in the Atlanta market, and try and keep you guys up to speed. So,
excuse me,
you got to scoot over. Yeah. We want to start off by this
Happy
is
April.
And April is
Fair Housing Act
month.
I'm sorry,
Yep,
Fair Housing Month.
Fair housing. So, fair housing is a really important factor for housing. We need to be very conscious about it. I know a lot of us just kind of take it very much for granted that this is how it is. Like why worry about it? That kind of thing. Why should we worry about it, man?
Well, not only can it cost you extreme fines, if not potential lose your license. The thing is, you guys, the American dream is to own a home, and the home ownership is important. It is a wealth building America, and so therefore, and some of us doesn't think, oh, doesn't apply to me. But believe it or not, there are some folks that are being discriminated, and sometimes just the innocent little comments can get you in a lot of trouble.
That's where we see the biggest problem with fair housing is not that people intentionally. I don't know if anyone's ever gone out and been like, we want to intentionally discriminate or do things like that. But it can be very subtle things that sometimes that we do, the way we represent ourselves, how we speak about whether it be family or crime or just.
Well, even your advertising too. If you can't say growing family, that's actually against fair housing. But you can say single family, which is a description of the property. So you always want to describe the characteristic of the property, not necessarily the occupant who's going to occupy the property.
So basically what we want to say is don't just kind of take fair housing like, oh, fair housing, I got it. Like this is something we need to stay conscious of and continue to really kind of.
And just remember, you gotta be, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, please.
But I will tell you, there are testers out there. So if you ever get to a position where the question become very difficult, all you gotta say, federal law prohibits me to answer that question. And that should stop it right there. If somebody trying to push and say, listen, federal law prohibit me from answering any of those questions. So
be careful. Next one. So I got hit up this past week by some agents that and we were just in a general conversation and it's like, well, there's no way they were going to do this and this wasn't going to happen. And what we want to encourage you is please don't prejudge your leads. Don't prejudge your clients. Don't make decisions on behalf of your clients because you know that they're going to not be ready to buy or not, we had we just had an agent who was like, well, they just bought a house 3 years ago, they're not going to buy another one now. Wrong. Okay. And so we need to make sure that sometimes we get out of our own way here. We need to make sure that we aren't the ones that's actually steering, and I don't mean steering in a bad way, but like we just immediately poo-poo. So
right, we're not taking a decision from the clients, and sometimes the information are very confidential unless you get into a deep conversation with your client and say, listen, I really want to help you to the best of my ability, but you got to let me know what's going on, because in order for me to make your offer attractive, I need to know what your abilities and your inabilities are. Because with that said, I can try to do different tactics with other folks in order to make your offer the best one. So,
well, but sometimes the other side of that is what kind of decisions do we make beforehand? Someone calls hey, I'm looking for a rental, for example. All right, well, I'm not going to do rentals.
Yeah, so there's no money in rentals.
No money in rentals, and then instead, somebody like Meng, who's this amazing, at converting. Well, it's because she can take a renter and be like, "Have you ever thought about buying?" Because it's actually easier to buy than it is to lease a home right now. And so a lot of times we just put those preconceived notions in there. So don't limit your clients, don't limit yourself on that.
And even if a client acknowledges that they don't have great credit score, and what you can do for them, say, listen, let me put with your lender. And so therefore you can work on your credit score, whether it's 6 months, a year, you still need it. in a year's time, it's still cheaper for you to buy than rent. So therefore, get them into a goal. But in the meanwhile, do try to assist them with rent if you can.
So some new data came out and said that right now, the average listed home is getting 5 offers on it before it sells. So we kind of want to go from a weird place. We want to talk about how do you lose bidding wars? Because that's what we're seeing happen out here. And even though this sounds like I'm coming from a negative, sometimes just pointing out how you can lose a bidding war with your client these are things that we need to make sure that we're educating our clients on, and we need to be prepared for. So
and sometimes for agents that hasn't been practicing for a while, and our market moves month to month, and sometimes on a weekly basis. So you got to know what is the tactic out there that's being pursued and what is the seller looking for. And not all property have the same seller. What I mean by that is that some property has a lot of deferred maintenance. So therefore, a seller know they're not in a really negotiating position.
Well, because, they don't want to make a
well, that and that, they know they want to get the best deal, and not having to have a file come through, then fall apart, come through and fall apart. So what you want to do is make yourself attractive.
Yeah. So first thing we want to talk about is if your clients have put every penny they had into a deal, they're going to lose that deal. They're going to lose that bidding war because it's bidding up. And then when they go in with that absolute top penny, and the other side of that is I hate making clients house poor.
Yeah.
Like when they don't have any money at all, that's a really tough thing. By the way, you got to move, you have expenses, you have, deposits, that kind of stuff.
And what happened if the house they know moving in, even though the HVAC is working, but it's on its last leg?
Yeah.
We had clients move in, and within 2 or 3 months, the HVAC falls apart, and now they're looking at you and pointing fingers. So another thing is, don't go in with small amount earnest money. Gone are the day of $500 and $1,000 earnest money. I still seen once in a while $1,000 earnest money, not bad for those agents that was able to get it, but typically those are on property that I know have deferred maintenances.
Yep. Not using escalation clauses is another way to lose bidding wars. And I know that we should see less of these moving on, but right now we still are seeing a lot of that.
Well, there's nothing wrong with escalation. By doing it itself may not be sufficient. You may have to combine that with something else.
Yeah. Also, if you use too many contingencies, as the seller, I see, and you've got, a full page of contingencies on there, that's probably going to kill the deal.
A lot of your cash buyer has a lot of those contingency, i.e. rental restrictions. You have to move out prior to closing 2 days. And so for a lot of seller, that's a lot of gamble on something that may or may not materialize.
Yeah. Next one is first we said don't have too many. Next one is don't have enough. Sometimes we don't have any. And that we feel is a huge mistake as well. Yeah, you might win the offer, but you're not going to win your client's heart. Okay. You got to have some contingencies on every offer.
When he said contingency, once again, sit down with your client. We have some really awesome clients out there where they're putting 20 to 25% down payment. So guess what? That may be a place where you can waive an appraisal contingency, because if the house appraised low, they still have enough funding to come up in order to make this thing work. So
next problem is assuming that you're going to get another chance. A lot of times you need to explain to your clients that, look, we need to throw our best offer out here, because it never fails. We hear from our clients, well, I thought they'd counter back. I thought they'd come back. A lot of times they're going to be like that one, and then they end up going with that offer, and they're done. The other thing we got to watch out for is using the term best and final, because although we agree that you have to throw your best one out there, the negotiation is never done. Ever. It's
never done until both parties sign on dotted line.
Yeah. But, really at the end of the day, we just don't want our clients getting trapped by FOMO, fear of missing out, because sometimes they make poor decisions on that. So we need to talk them through that as well.
Right. And what you want to let them know is that if this is truly the home of your dream, then let's do the best. But at the same time, if it's something you're just mediocre on. I've seen clients make a $30,000 above list price and then turn around the next day with regret and they want to cancel it. Guess what? They have zero due diligence period. And that's an issue.
Yeah, we want to jump over into buying versus renting right now. You know, there's a great debate on whether you should buy or whether you should rent. And we believe that, you know, of course we're pro home ownership, hands down.
All day.
But you know, there also is a time when and we need to be good advisors and counselors for our clients, kind of thing, because there's sometimes that buying is not the right time. Sometimes renting is a better choice. So like, depending on where you are in your life, you know, like if you're not going to settle down for the next
5 to 7 years,
then you probably shouldn't buy. You know, it takes that long to start building up equity, pay off all those, you know, I mean, your mortgage doesn't really start, you know, you don't apply a lot of your balance towards your principal until after the first 5, 7 years, that kind of stuff. You know, you also need to have about 8 to 10%. Our average first time buyer down payment is somewhere in that 8 to 10% range. And so they need to have enough money to actually do it. Now, the good side of that is by the time the way the rental rates are going, if you have first plus last plus security deposit and pet deposit,
it's almost equivalent to
it's pretty
down
close,
payment.
you know. You know, credit score is also definitely a different issue, but I tell you, renting a home today with a crappy credit score is not like the days of just having a crap credit and being able to buy or rent is gone.
Well, think about it. During the moratorium, a lot of landlords were burnt. We ourselves got burnt about $12,000-13,000.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the renter also applied for assistance, but you know, obviously the phone disconnected and everything else, unless you want to spend a lot of time and in pursuing. I mean, it really is a tough one.
So, you know, overall home affordability right now, 64% of renters say that home affordability is a big deal. However, and that's a challenge for them buying a home. The other side of that is that home affordability is getting worse for our renters. This, you know, what we're showing here is the home affordability for the Atlanta area. And you can see the darker the green, the more affordable it is, the more brown or yellow or, you know,
tannish,
whatever, orange. Pinky. Yeah. The other color than green is
where
where it is more unaffordable kind of thing. And that's based on the average income versus the average rental properties out there kind of thing. And so Atlanta has been tapering down. So this is not good news for renters. And we've been saying that for a long time.
If you look at the cap, Fulton County is actually unaffordable right now.
Yeah, just like Newton, Gwinnett, all three of those are in really bad shape at the moment. Now, here's the other side of things is this is what the average net worth is for the average homeowner is $300,000. Now that's for all homeowners across the US. But when you compare that to the average renter's net worth across the US, $8,000.
That's what they have in their savings.
No, this is their net worth at the end of it when it's all said and done. So the average renter is worth about $8,000. The average homeowner is worth about $300,000. So do you want to be part of the group whose net worth is $300,000, or do you want to be part of the group whose net worth is $8,000? I don't see it's kind of an easy go-to right there for that. Now, yes, we have seen property values increases. And so this is from the Case-Shiller S&P Home Price Index study. And you can see, I mean, no shocker here. We've known what's been going on in property values. However, this is what's happened with rents. Okay, so yes.
Look at the steep incline in 2022.
I mean, if you look at the low tier, the high tier, across the board, it really is kind of running rampant right now. So yeah, I know home affordability is an issue. I know we have rising interest rates. All these are concerns, but you know, is it still better to be renting? If you can, you're better off to be buying here in the Atlanta market. Now, that being said, we know that our borrowing costs are continuing to increase. You know, this week we had a 4.67 with an average of almost 1 point and a full point going up. That jumped up another almost a quarter point last week kind of thing. Now, what's interesting is even though mortgage rates jumped up last week, purchase loan applications actually went up 1% again last week.
Well, remember what we said, right now is the best time to buy.
Well,
And this is a buying season right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're moving into spring and summer. Well, we're heavily into spring. We're moving into the spring and summer buying season right now. And so this is what our mortgage rates look like over the past 3 or 4 years. And so on one hand, you can say, wow, 4.42, that's outrageous. Look, if you were in the business in 2018, 2019, guess what? We're just getting back to there. And those were good times in real estate. If you really break it out to how things are really looking long term, we're in really good shape. So let's not get this idea that 4.6 is this outrageously horrible, terrible rate. This thing
It isn't. Just that, for folks who bought a couple of years ago, you basically lost about $60,000 worth of buying power.
Who didn't buy, yeah. And so, all those times when we were like, this is the best time to buy. I hate to be that person who's like, told you so, but we were telling you so, and we've been telling you so. I want to talk really briefly about the inverted yield curve, which sounds super high-techy and very geeky. But basically what it is when the 2-year rate for bonds, for the treasury yield exceeded the 10 years rate. That's an indication that weird things are happening in our market. And so we are trying to keep our finger on the pulse of what's really kind of going on, because, this is one of those economic indicators that can signal a downturn in the market. What's going to be different for housing right now, and what we're starting to pick up, is we're starting to see these indicators that housing is going to be slowing down. That being said, we're in the spring and summer buying season. So the numbers are not going to look good. I mean, are not going to look like they're going down, but the indicators are all pointing. And so we're looking, I'm not sure we're going to go into recession.
Well, typically in the past, that's what's going on. When you have a 2-year treasury that outweighs a 10-year treasury, typically is an indication of recession. But the thing is, right now, our GDP is up and we're having still labor issues. So therefore, I don't foresee is going to be an issue, but it is going to make the market a little crazy and a little weird.
And we're going to see that. We feel most of that's going to happen in the fall. Now, if you look at some of the other things that we've seen this week, even so, like this came from Redfin kind of thing. And so they're predicting price growth will slow, and they're saying in the coming months. But like I said, we're looking at the fall. And so if you look at, the mortgage banks index, it fell 10% last week kind of thing. Interest rates continue to keep moving up. The touring activity, the number of people searching for homes is down 16 points compared to a year ago. 16% down is a significant drop in there.
Significant.
Google searches for homes for sale were down 10%. And so if you just take the 16% less searches on Redfin, 10% down on so we are seeing that the demand is waning, largely driven by these
well, I think a lot of buyers who are on the borderline edge was really dependent on DPA program, down payment assistance program. They're getting discouraged because they're making offers left and right. They're spending time, their gas money, go seeing this home, and then getting outbidded. So that's where they are stopping to a certain extent and saving up until they can get to a point where their offer is going to be substantial.
So how could home prices continue to decline? Look at the demographics. Okay. We're in the middle of a 5-year window, really an 8-year window, between 2019 and 2023. That is the single biggest population gap. And by the time that by the end of 2023, this huge population is all going to reach 30 years of age. Now, the first time home buyer age is 33. So over the next 5 to 6 years, the biggest group of millennials are all going to be into the first time home buyer age. On the supply side, we've been making babies and not building houses for a long time. Right now, Freddie Mac just released a number, says that we are underbuilt by about 4 million homes. And about the most we can build is about 1.1 million.
Yeah, which is better than 6 million. So
it is getting better.
It was projected 6.5. So, as people do pass down their assets to their children, there's just a
Yeah.
slight less.
So what we see is a tale of two stories here, because on one hand, we're seeing really high demand that's going to drive us through the summer, but we're also starting to see some telltale signs of things are going to be changing in the future. And so, like if you look at our median sales price right now is up almost 70% year over year. Our mortgage payments, with something that we've definitely seen here, is that they're up significantly. We have really, you can see right here on the graph what the rising interest rates are how that is impacting payments. It's a big deal out there. Now, pending sales. See, we don't have a drop in pending sales. Pending sales are actually up almost 1% over last year. And so you can see we're following historical trends. I am expecting this to kind of go like this and then really start to taper back off. Average listing for homes, however, this is our supply side. We're down 22.3%, which was down 27% from the year before. So we're down about, in the Atlanta metro area, we're down about 55% of the inventory.
We're almost half of 2020 inventory, if you look at it that way.
Yep. The average home sold selling for 102% of list price. We've almost hit the max peak that we hit last year right now. So again, if you look at all the market data and all the housing data right now, you think, man, there's no problem. There's nothing going on with housing. We need to start educating our folks that times are changing. Yes, we're going to go through a hot and heavy season right now. We have demand. We're not seeing property values decline. We're not seeing properties, like this is not 2008. There's nothing like 2008.
Right.
We will see property values start to flatten. We will see all the pressure on the lower end is what we're really expecting. And we'll start seeing some inventory on the higher ends is what we're kind of expecting as the year moves on. So just to kind of keep everyone up to speed and up to date on things like that. We had a judge that struck down the Oregon love letter ban. Oregon tried to ban love letters. And so now they're not banned anymore. It's been struck down. But use caution. Okay. You really have to be careful.
Because you still don't want to violate fair housing.
Did we mention fair housing? Yeah.
Yes.
So our average home flipping is continuing to rock and roll. And so you can see what the gross profit from home flipping is doing. However, their returns are in the tank. It's as low as it was back in 2008 kind of thing. And so, they're doing a lot of volume, but it's costing them a lot more money.
Well, the reason being material costs has risen since the time they purchased and when they originally estimate what a project is going to be versus the time they actually get on the market. Not only that, labor force has shrinking as well on that segment.
Yep. Now, the population of multi-generational households has quadrupled since 1971, and this is going both ways. I mean, this accounts for both like the teenage son living in the basement for forever, as well as families mixing together and like multi-generational, like mom and dad moving back in, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so if you look at what are the top 5 reasons why people live in multi-generational households, the number one is financial. So financial is a really, really big deal. After that, it's the living arrangement that they've always had.
Well, sometimes you do have parents or with some or children with grandchildren with special needs. So therefore, multi-generation makes sense.
Yeah, and that's the third one, is to care for an adult or a family member that to give or receive care.
And sometimes change of relationship status.
If you get a divorce, sometimes you move back in with mom and that kind of stuff.
Not necessarily divorce. Sometimes
but sometimes just for companionship.
Yeah. And sometimes your loved one passed, and unfortunately that happens. So.
But it's not always bad.
It's not a bad thing.
Because the average multi-generational household there are less multi-generational households in poverty than
the single,
the standard any other type of
correct,
household.
Because you combine typically 2 or 3 salary in one household versus just 1 or 2 salary.
Yep. Now, you saw the news this past week, the Biden administration has released their budget for housing. And we're not a political thing. We're not getting into the political, but I highly doubt this is really gonna make it through. They've requested a 34% increase to the Department of Housing and Urban Development,
which is $50 billion.
Yeah. It includes a $15 billion in grants and loans for the supply of affordable housing. I understand the concerns for affordable housing, but however, when the administration talks about affordable housing, what they're talking about is apartments. And for the housing
And
industry,
typically that is going to the investor pocket,
yeah,
just
I
kind of
mean,
like COVID.
yeah,
When they issued the PPP money, there was a lot of folks taking
yeah,
advantage and defrauded the United States government. All those money that are being given now as the taxpayer on an individual basis somehow has to make that up at some point. So
yeah.
this, I don't see apartment building as a wealth generation other than for the investors.
It will help investors out, there's no doubt. And we do need housing, there's no doubt. But where we really want to, and I think you'll probably see it in your markets as well, townhomes are going up everywhere. And we're kind of excited to see that. Please don't poo-poo townhomes. Okay, because that is the starter home for this new
Right,
generation here.
but what I'm concerned with is that those are going to be funded toward the investor, not necessarily the individual.
No, most of them are single family right now,
So-
thankfully. All right, the average property taxes paid, Georgia comes in at number 15, and the Atlanta area comes in at number 15. If you were just wondering how bad are our property taxes compared to the rest of the nation, we come in at number 15. So we're not that terrible. We're not the best, but we're also not that terrible.
worse.
And you can see that for the average property taxes paid for homes with a mortgage in the Atlanta area is $2,340. That's just a benchmark for you. That's just a point of reference for you to have about what are the average property taxes for the Atlanta area, kind of thing. Commercial vacancies are falling. If you've done anything in the commercial arena, the commercial market is much more driven by the market economics, much more than like it's not just supply demand. It's how the economy is doing overall. It's how jobs are doing. And so because jobs are doing really well, commercial is doing really, really well. Right now, the average vacancy rate in the commercial arena for Atlanta is only 4.3%. So vacancies are down huge right now. And so not that we have any advice to give you, just so you kind of know what's going on in the commercial arena.
Sure.
There was an article came out on one of the local news channels talking about home builders canceling their buyer contracts. So
we had that happen actually.
we are seeing more and more of this now. What was on the news, this was not our client. We don't have a horse in this race, but the builder came to the buyer 7 days prior to closing and said that we're going to increase we need to increase this up to, about $60,000 increase.
25% is huge, y'all.
Yeah, and so and now the house ended up being listed for $75,000 more than the contract price, and it's under contract now. And so the builder basically yanked the rug out from underneath there, and we need to make sure that we're preparing our clients for escalation clauses and for what's going on. Now, on one hand, I know the builders have legit cost concerns. I know that they have supply issues. I know that they have labor issues. I know that they have rising costs. I do. But this kind of thing scares me, and I find it to be bad business practices.
Well, and honestly, these are big players. They're not the individual mom and pop. So therefore, some of the big players are doing stuff like this, and of course, giving the buyers their earnest money back. By the same time, selling property for anywhere from 15 to 25% more than what they previously negotiated.
Well, and this is gut wrenching. Here's a buyer that's been under contract for a year. And now a week before closing, everything is up in the air. Like you're getting ready to move out. You're getting ready. You got movers scheduled.
Know that and the buyer knows that they can't find anything near the same price as what they originally agreed.
Yeah.
Without going up in price as well.
So it's tough. And so, while I do know that new construction is a great source, we need to make sure that when we are representing clients for new construction, they need to be prepared for a bump.
Increase.
They need to be prepared for them to take it to exercise that option that they have to raise the price. Hopefully they have more class than to do it a week before closing, but we are seeing signs of this kind of going on out there. So protect yourself, protect your clients on there. April 10th to the 16th, that is the best time to list. We've been talking about this for a couple of different weeks, but then this week also Zillow released, when is the best time to maximize your sale price, as well as to maximize the page views. And so, the best time to list according to Zillow is in early May. And the best time to list, if you want to maximize how many people are really looking at it, is in late March. So we're right there. So now it's basically just a really great time to buy and sell property. So still, no matter what, it's a great time to sell. If you are looking to sell, this is a really good time. Even if you are in the buying market, it's not going to get a lot better. So you want to get in now. All right, on training this week. So today, Megan and I are heading over to Noonan after this, and we're going to be doing Lunch and Learn for Contracts 101. We're going to be doing that live in the Noonan office. Then tomorrow we have our KV Core Basics, and that's in all of our offices. It's automation, and it's at 1 o'clock. Also tomorrow on Tuesday, I'm teaching the Ultimate Buyer System at our office over in Conyers. And then on Wednesday here in the McDonough office, we have in-person Mortgage 101. And then on Thursday back in Conyers, we have a Lunch and Learn pop-by workshop. So please jump into one of our offices, come by and see us. If we can be of any kind of service, call, text, smoke signals.
And just so you know, do come by Mortgage 101, even though you understand mortgage, but there may be products and services
or they're changing
that you may not know of. So it's a good time to connect with a lender.
Yep. Hope you guys have a great week. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Happy Monday.